what's good, and welcome back to another episode of Lituation. It's a conversation about situation. We don't know. But before the end of this episode, you will know what's up. So today's episode, I appreciate it. It's one of my favorite artists out right now, Cardi. One of her top songs that come out. It's about the what?
Money! All I really want to see is money.
That's your version. That's your remix. Anyway, listen, we're going to talk about money, how it applies to you, and not just from a financial aid standpoint, but like as far as your day-to-day living, money management, and being financially literate is important for not just college, but like for the rest of your life. And Natalie, I know you had some, we didn't all have the same type of experience, which is great, right?
Absolutely.
But Natalie, you had some chances to experience some things within college and your college experience related to finances, where you were able to take advantage of some things that you are benefiting from now, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say anyone out there, like, no matter what your starting place is, right? Whether you're born with a silver spoon or a plastic spoon, you can make decisions to set yourself up better, whatever better means to you. And I don't think it's about like being money hungry or being cutthroat about money, but about making wise decisions so that you can better help yourself, your community, and your family.
Right.
And that's what it really was for me, particularly being first generation college, first generation, so many things. And so when I got into college, I was also working as an executive assistant for a VP, which was like definitely the work of the Lord, because I was not qualified.
The Lord with a T.
Baby, you was born qualified,
Okay, well, the Lord bless, okay? And she was just like a boss and just gave me so much valuable information that within my scope, my circle, I didn't have. And one thing that job privileged me was a 401k. So I actually started saving in my early 20s.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, and so I opened up a 401k. After I did my 401k, I kind of moved from that job to another one. So it's like, what do I do with this 401k now?
Right.
I started doing some research. I read this book, and it talked about Roth IRAs. So the difference between a Roth IRA and a 401k is that a 401k usually comes from your employer. The money comes out before the tax comes out, so your taxable income is a little lower. A Roth IRA, the tax comes after, so you don't have as many tax issues when you want to pull those funds. So I rolled my 401k over to a Roth. Y'all, that money from my early 20s was the down payment on our first house.
Oh, wow.
And so it was like the small decisions that I made. And it was, it's simple. You start wherever you are. I think I started with, when they match your 401k, honey, that's really good because you double your savings. But when we moved over to the Roth, it was not a lot of money that was coming out on a monthly basis. But it was able through time and through not messing with it to give me a huge jump start. Like I didn't come from a family where they're giving you a house or I didn't.
It wasn't a silver spoon.
I had more like a sport. So
that's super important, right? I mean, you talk about relationships and just looking at utilizing every situation, every opportunity to do something for your future is just the same as going to school. And even having an academic counselor, you had, maybe you recommend a financial counselor or a financial advisor.
Absolutely. Right. Absolutely. And having those conversations, if not with yourself, with someone that you know can help you get a leg up. And I think that's so important. And even if it's not a retirement plan, like get an online savings account and put $10 in there every week.
Everybody was not as fortunate as you. Some of us got those credit cards when you got to college.
Oh, when you turned 18?
That was unfortunate because you had to decide to get those credit cards.
That's why I said not as fortunate. So
did you get one?
Unfortunate and make
How many credit cards did you get?
I only got one.
Only one.
With that $500 credit limit.
Right.
I had more than that.
I had a gap card.
I had a Parisians too.
What is it?
See, look,
It was a department store.
now she remembers.
Yeah.
She couldn't remember.
She went from one to 3.
Not a good decision after another not good decision.
Well, and I think
it's not a bad thing to develop your credit, but you just got to know what you can
understanding
afford.
how credit cards work
is important.
And understanding how to get the benefits from them. Like even now, like it's something I'm
as an adult, learning more about like even how to use the points and to get more points and use the points to pay off other things or do some, it's like understanding all that. I wish I would have known back then. I'd be in a much better position, but taking that time. And the other thing, the one thing that really messed me up for like 2 weeks when I actually moved out of New York was having a bank that is like national where you are.
No,
like
that's
having
real.
a bank account where you're going.
No ATM fees?
Yeah. What's interesting is that I had a bank account that was national, it was Bank of America, and then I also got a local bank account because
I had to.
I knew that I could, like, if I need to do like a local transaction, I could do that. And here's a hack. Here's a for real hack. Whenever you get refund checks, find out who the university bank's with. Then you can go straight to that bank and cash the check without any fees from your bank.
And
so when I figured that out, I was like, yo, let me get an account that's local as well. And then I had, I kind of felt like, I got 2 accounts. Which account I'm gonna spend from this weekend? I got the personal, I got the checking. Set up, you know what I'm saying?
My checking goes to my savings. Yeah, my school actually, we had a bank in our student center. They were connected to like the university or whatever, and it was literally the only bank in like the town. And we all kind of started there. A lot of my friends, we started there with that like college account. And honestly, another hack that you can have, get you a college account while you're in school. Keep it after you graduate, because they don't be like, did you graduate yet? Because I kept that account for a minute, and when you have the college account, you don't get no fees.
They offer a lot of different benefits.
Yeah, they offer benefits.
And they could be something where you hook up with your bank, and it was something that actually in Rochester I did a lot. Like I was with a local bank, and they did like some of that financial advising and things like that, and would tell you about different opportunities. Like I had a CD at one point and was saving money through that. Like doing there's a bunch of different ways. Right, there's a bunch of different ways to make your money work for you.
One of the things that happened to me though that I kind of regret. So my grandfather, he left us some money when he passed away. Like he left our grandkids money, and I was young. You get that money when you turn 18, and I was like, money. I didn't even see his money, right? And I kind of regret like not thinking about how
the future.
Yeah, how to be more wise with the money that was left for me, and even with the refund check. How do you be more wise? I don't know if y'all had this, but we have like Parent Plus loan. So like if your mama or daddy can't get it, then they'll take it and put it in your name, and then you can use it. And I would get the Parent Plus faithfully, okay? And I worked too, so I'm using the Parent Plus to pay my rent, pay my bills, all that. But I ain't gonna lie, y'all, I used to have at least like 4 fat K left over. What?
Oh wow!
No, I think that's an important thing when you set yourself up to get those refunds. I know for me,
but do something smart with it.
Do something smart with it, and just and doing something smart may mean just not doing something dumb, right? And just blowing off your money and don't really have anything to show for it.
You know what I wish I knew now that I didn't know then was to start a business, like whatever, like an official business, not a hustle, because that's another way of investing in yourself, and investing in your legacy, because that's something you can pass down. Like you don't want to pass down just your student loan debt.
Right. In my area, and I think like I'm trying to figure out what's the thing that's actually going to make young people or encourage young people to actually do it. Because I know when I was in college, we had all types of programs about revolutionizing your refund, getting together and and it was all this stuff that people showed up to and all these talks, but nobody ever actually like really took initiative. And the thing was, and I'm not gonna say that because I don't know who did what in their personal life. But in terms of like group economics, there was this huge like abandoned movie theater in DeKalb, right? And it had been shut down for so many years. We could have put our money together, bought that building, put a little club in there, a skate rink.
They gonna have the rent parties though. They gonna have a rent party.
Absolutely.
Well, and that's the thing about even being in college. It's probably one of the most most safest times, the most safe times where you can kind of explore into entrepreneurship. I'll say for me, I was a drummer, so I played drums at the church. So I would get a check from the church. I also
multiple streams.
I sold purses, other merchandise for women. I sold
Purses,
chicken sandwiches. I sold.
Derek was that dude.
And I hosted events. And so
did you sell bundles?
I didn't sell bundles. Bundles wasn't as popular.
Police don't know when to kick the door.
Don't know when to kick the door. No, but some that engineering. I mean, that being I guess looking at entrepreneurship from that standpoint, my grandfather would say, just make sure your income is more than your outgo. And that's the same thing we're talking about, just being financially and fiscally responsible and looking into entrepreneurship and seeing how you can create opportunities that generate money. Because it's helped me even now.
That's another hack with your credit cards. If you do choose to get a credit card, which is fine because you're establishing your credit, but try not to spend more than you can actually pay each month. Because you definitely want to not carry a balance with your credit card. Because 9 times out of 10, you're going to have like 25% interest or something crazy. So you charge a honey bun and then you pay $10, $20.
It costs you $1, but you got to pay $1.25 for it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I didn't really understand interest. I ain't gonna lie. I didn't really understand interest till I bought Dream, which is my vehicle. I said my next vehicle, I'm gonna name it Choice. It's gonna be Choice because it's gonna be a real pull up, cheap, give me where I need to go type.
Listen, being responsible is super important. That's where we get a chance to learn this. What if some other ways and maybe some hacks or things that you've done? I know for me, I didn't have a financial advisor, but going to the local bank and asking questions, that was helpful. I would pay my rent up a couple times.
It was great because like when I was in grade school, the city, they had a Biz Kids program. And so they basically taught you like how to start your own business, do your inventory, like price for profit and all of that stuff. And it was like a summer program that we went through. So from like that helped me to understand how to move with like my money and be more entrepreneurial. But I think to kind of what Mickey you were saying, like it's not as popular in these spaces because the popular thing is the party. And in order to party, you spend it.
Right.
So like, think about no outfit.
Right.
You got
that's expensive. Don't buy a bottle or get bottle service or whatever.
But you know,
it was just whatever the punch was.
Right. It was Smirnoff. Right. It was for the low.
Exposure is everything. So I would say, get exposed to different communities. Get exposed to different clubs. Like, where people are.
Different people.
Yeah, and different people who are making those decisions. Because if it was not for my boss at that time, I wasn't in a circle where anybody was talking about a Roth IRA.
Right.
You realize by being in different circles with different people, you can realize the different values on money. And how people move with money. Like, I realized real money when I got around certain people because the way they talked about it, like, it wasn't an issue.
Right.
Where in my family, my life, money was always like it was a priority as you thought about making a decision. But for them, it was what we doing? All right, let's just go. And the money wasn't the thought.
Another thing, a lot of people in college want to get off campus and they want to rent. That is a huge waste of money.
Yeah. Baby, I love my
It changes your life. What it does, it puts you in a position to have expenses. I have to maintain like month-to-month expenses. When if you don't have to have that be a
like what was $600?
Where you gonna live? Where you gonna live at then?
Well, what I'm saying is that when you're on campus,
and on campus, I was paying more.
Well, but paying more is one thing. But what's the value of having peace of mind? I'm not worrying about paying rent or not paying the rent or going to get a cash.
Because I have to worry about staying home.
Yeah, right.
You don't have the option to stay at home.
Hold on.
I said maybe that was the HBCU.
Let me give you an example. My nephew, shout out to my nephew. He's probably going to be really embarrassed I'm sharing this story. But my nephew's in college. And he wants to get an apartment with his friends.
Okay.
And so his mom is trying to teach him to be responsible. So he's like, okay, she told him what her mortgage was and asked him how much his rent was, which is pretty much equivalent to her mortgage. And so he wants to get an apartment with his friends and split the rent. And so she just sat him down and ran the numbers. with him. And he said, you know what, Mom? I'm going to, that money that I would have paid for rent, I'm going to put it aside and I'm going to use it to buy a home. And she said, I will match whatever you...
And baby, that is a big privilege. Right there.
Well, I mean,
But I know, but
privilege.
it's also something that we all have the opportunity to do if we change our mindset of
Possibly.
like,
We was co-bro starving and gangbanging. Look, okay? I'm serious. You know, at the end of the day, I'm grateful for
Say that one more time.
co-bro starving and gangbanging. I am grateful for, you know what? I never once, other than that one time I was crying in my dorm because I was concerned about my balance and stuff, I never once had to worry about like whether or not I was going to be able to pay my rent, because of that financial aid and those loans that I took out. Yes, I was getting those refund checks, but I was using that $5K to pay 6 months worth of rent. You know
Part of
what
what
I'm
I
saying?
would do, especially with having a roommate, is when I got my refund check, I'm paying for the 6 months.
Yeah.
So like while I'm here, and that's taken care of. So then I'm still in that space where I don't worry about like this being paid, but I still have my own space.
If I would have took that money and been like, I'm gonna save this to buy me a home, I would have been homeless. I would have been homeless.
I think overall we're talking about just the options.
He's like, I want to say
we're talking about just the options that exist. Keep this thing like that, and look at every case by case scenario, and look at the situation and say,
if you
now even older people are making the decision to move back home, which is not an easy decision to make. To be able to position themselves. So I think it's like, what is your long-term goal? What are you trying to achieve?
Yeah.
And for me, I always knew home ownership was the first gateway to changing the poverty trajectory that I was born into. And so, and a lot of us, again, don't have that exposure, but once we have the exposure, what do you do with it? How do you make different choices, right? Not dreams, but how do you make different choices to change the trajectory of not only your life, but whoever, your family, whoever's... My mom now owns 2 homes. Because of the information. So I don't think it's ever, you're never too old, you're never too young. Wherever you start off, it's just making a decision to start.
Right.
And
what's maybe one thing that you would maybe tell yourself now about finance, kind of as we wrap up? What's the advice that you would tell yourself now? I know for me, I would say, be moderate. Be more moderate. Like, just because you get the money doesn't mean you have to spend it. And don't chase the money. If I didn't have to sell the purses or wasn't trying to sell the purses, do all those things, like I maybe would not have done that. But what's something you would tell yourself advice-wise?
I think I would go back to the moderation, and I don't have to have everything. Everything that I saw in Vogue magazine, I didn't have to look like it.
In Vogue?
Oh, girl.
She was that good.
Glamour. I was.
Serving the looks.
Proud.
I didn't have to have that. You can save that money. Just make better choices. I remember getting an eviction notice on my door because I had went and bought some boots. I spent my rent money on boots.
Oh, wow. Don't spend your rent money.
Making bad choices. That was a bad choice.
Yeah, and what's your advice to yourself?
I would say play the long game. Like, don't just think about money in terms of what you can do now, what the gratification is now. I'm so grateful that I had that exposure, and something that I did 20 years ago, well, not 20 because I'm not that old, but more than 10 years ago, set me up to change the trajectory of my life. So that's one. And then 2, I would say, like, just definitely start where you start. Whatever you can commit to, be consistent in that and see how it grows.
Yeah, for me, I would say be self-aware of how, when, where, and why you may be living in lack. And I say that because living in lack can look like overspending, and living in lack can look like not spending at all.
Hoarding.
Not spending at all. And not giving yourself the college experience that you truly deserve because you're fearful of spending money or being poor or not having, right? If you got it, God is giving it to you to steward and do something with. So I just want to say be mindful of that. And one hack I'll give that me and my partner just recently did, well, not recently, maybe like a year or so. We got like an online Discover account, and it takes longer for you to be able to gain access to pull the money out of your account. So by the time you even get the doggone money, you done had some time to really think about it and be like, do I really need them boots?
Right.
And that's why online saving is so successful too.
Yeah,
because it's just gonna
absolutely.
happen automatically.
Yeah,
Brandon, what
that's
you
my
got
that's
for
my
yourself?
The first one would be something that my mentor told me recently, and that is make money your friend and treat money like it's your friend. And the second one would be just invest in yourself, and make sure whatever you're doing is an investment in you. If you're making a purchase, it's an investment in me for like a purpose, and it's not just frivolous spending. It's not just to have this one
Cloud
night,
chasing.
right? Cloud chasing, doing any of that. Make sure it's an investment. If I'm buying this laptop, it's to do this and to help myself and to grow in these areas. Even if if I'm going out tonight with the homies, it's to invest in these relationships, making it something that's different than just frivolous spending.
If I can add on that, I would say also that goes into like the charitable donations that you make to corporations, whether it's or nonprofits or churches, like people who are doing the work in the community, the people that you serve, like invest in that, whether that's through your time, through your talent, or through your tent. I was a pastor. Because that comes back to you, right? And I love the word that you use, steward, right? Like that, whether it's in energy, whether it's in health, or whether it's in resources, when you give, when you invest, you will reap the harvest of it.
Yeah,
that's on period.
Well, that's what's up. Listen, that's been enough for this episode 8. The financial hacks, the money. I think we've covered it all. And all of it. Just wrapping up. Be a friend to your money and be a good steward of your money and be responsible for yourself and know that this money's gonna come again. You're gonna get some more. You're gonna do something and it'll come back again. So have a good reciprocal relationship with that. So with that being said, we are out. We will see you on the next episode. I'm Derek.
I'm Candy Cotton.
I'm Nathan Nelson Parker.
I am more Mickey Grace.
Money sign Brennan Booze at Cash App.
Yo, we're out. Peace.